देखती आंखों और सुनते कनों को मेरा सलाम. Welcome to my channel, Naksha.
Today, we're going to try and unpack the puzzle that is Pakistan. You have this country that's a nuclear power with this incredible young population, but it always seems to be on the brink of some kind of crisis. We're going to look at why all that potential seems trapped in a cycle that it just can't seem to break. Okay, so let's really get into this core contradiction. On the one hand, you've got a nuclear-armed nation, it's in a hugely important part of the world, and it has this massive, energetic, young population. But on the other hand, it's constantly being dragged down by crippling debt, deep divisions in society, and a military that just has this immense influence over politics. It's like these two different versions of the country are in a constant tug of war. So where does this constant struggle actually come from? Well, to really get to the heart of it, we have to start with a fundamental issue in Pakistan, this deep, deep imbalance of power that really drives the whole system. Now, if you want to understand politics in Pakistan, you absolutely have to know this one term, the establishment. And listen, this isn't just the army in uniform. It's this whole powerful network, military leaders, intelligence agencies, and their allies in civilian life, who are, at the end of the day, the ones really pulling the strings. And its power is felt literally everywhere. We're not just talking about historical coups. The establishment shapes day-to-day politics through its powerful intelligence agencies. It controls a gigantic defense budget that no civilian can really audit. It runs a massive business empire, everything from real estate to manufacturing, and ultimately it has the final say on all the big foreign policy and security decisions. It frankly doesn't matter who you elect, they hold a veto. So what happens when a popular elected leader decides to challenge those unwritten rules? What happens when they cross a line? We'll look no further than the whole saga with former Prime Minister Imran Khan. It's a perfect case study. He came to power in 2018, and the word was he had the military's support. But when he started to clash with them, he was pushed out of power in 2022. And after that, things just exploded. He survived an assassination attempt. His supporters were so angry they actually stormed military sites, and the state came down on them hard. But here's the really wild part. Even with Khan in prison during the 2024 elections, candidates connected to his party won more seats than anyone else. It just threw the whole system into chaos. Now, all of this constant political battling has huge consequences. It pretty much paralyzes the country, especially when it comes to the economy, keeping it stuck in what feels like a near-permanent state of crisis. Just think about this number for a second. 23. That's the number of times Pakistan has had to go to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, for a bailout since 1958. It's the same story on repeat. You borrow money, you make some really painful but temporary changes, and then you slide right back into the same old habits. You never really fix the underlying problem. And a huge reason for all that debt is right here. The government just doesn't collect enough taxes. Why? Because many of the most powerful economic players, think big agricultural landlords, major industries, even the military's own business empire, are famously undertaxed. This just starves the state of the money it needs to actually run the country. And you know, all of this has a devastating human cost. At its worst, in mid-2023, inflation hit a staggering 38%. I mean, can you imagine? For millions of families who already spend most of their money just on food, a number like that is an absolute catastrophe. So you've got this incredible economic pain, and it's putting immense pressure on a society that's already juggling some massive demographic challenges of its own. What's fueling all this pressure is this incredible fact. Pakistan has one of the youngest populations on the entire planet. Almost 2/3 of its people are under the age of 30. Now, that should be a massive advantage, right? A huge engine for growth and innovation. But there's a pretty big catch. Because the reality on the ground is a crisis of opportunity. You have millions of kids who aren't even in school. The job market just can't create enough jobs for the millions of young people entering it every single year. So what you get is this massive pool of frustration and anger, which creates a powder keg that can easily spill over into political unrest. And this is where it all comes together. It's the moment where all the pieces we've been talking about, the unbalanced power, the economic pain, the social pressure, they all snap together and lock the country into this dangerous, self-reinforcing cycle. So here's how that vicious cycle works. It starts with the military's dominance, which distorts the political system. That dysfunctional political system then can't make the tough decisions needed for real economic reform. The lack of reform leads to economic hardship, which fuels social unrest. And then And this is the key part. That social unrest is used as the perfect justification for the military to maintain its dominant role, all in the name of providing security and stability. And boom, the cycle is complete, ready to start all over again. What this leaves you with is a state that one observer perfectly described as chronic managed dysfunction. It's a country that's never really allowed to completely collapse, but it's also never allowed to truly flourish. It just kind of lurches from one crisis to the next, always surviving, but never actually thriving. And that really gets to the heart of the paradox, doesn't it? Pakistan has just enough resilience to avoid catastrophe and just enough dysfunction to prevent flourishing. And that leaves us with a big, lingering question. What in the world would be powerful enough to finally break that cycle?